The air is thick with the scent of damp soil and sun-ripened crops as I step onto my family's land, 2,100 acres of rich farmland that has belonged to us for generations. The golden fields stretch toward the horizon, the distant tree lines standing like silent sentinels guarding my mother's legacy. This land isn't just property, it's history. It's the sweat of my ancestors, the dreams of my mother, and the future of my children. I close my eyes, inhaling deeply, letting the nostalgia wash over me. I grew up here, running barefoot through these fields, helping Mama pull weeds in the summer heat. Now, as a grown man, I stand at the helm of my family's success. Mama may have passed, but her legacy thrives. I've modernized the farm, installing an independent solar-powered irrigation system and setting up automated crop rotation technology. We don't just work the land, we own it, and we control its future. Or at least, that's what I thought. A low rumble of an engine shatters my peace. I turn, spotting a sleek black SUV kicking up dust as it speeds down our private road. The sight makes my stomach twist. Outsiders don't belong here. My grip tightens on the fence post as the vehicle rolls to a stop, and a woman steps out. Tall, blonde, expensive sunglasses perched on her nose. She moves like she owns the world, or at least thinks she does. I recognize her instantly. Karen Whitmore, president of the local HOA. A woman who had no power over this land, yet always acted like she did. She strides toward me, her lips curling in that tight, fake smile that never reaches her eyes. "Mr. Carter," she says smoothly, her voice dripping with the kind of condescension that people like her save for people like me. "We need to talk." I fold my arms across my chest. "About what?" Her smile widens, but there's no warmth in it. "About your land. There have been complaints." My gut tenses. "Complaints?" She gestures vaguely, as if swatting away something unimportant. "You know, zoning issues, environmental concerns. We just want to make sure everything is in compliance." I stare at her, my pulse slow but steady. Compliance? This land isn't part of the HOA. It never has been. We were here before their little suburban kingdom even existed. Before their perfectly manicured lawns and their overreaching bylaws. "I'm sure it's a misunderstanding," she adds, tilting her head like she's speaking to a child. "But I do suggest you come down to the office tomorrow. We need to go over some documents." I don't move. I don't blink. Because something is off. HOA regulations don't apply here. They never have. So, why do I suddenly feel like a storm is coming? The next morning, I drive into town, my mind restless with unanswered questions. The HOA office sits in the heart of the suburban development that crept up over the years, swallowing up smaller farms until mine was the last holdout. The contrast is jarring. Rows of identical beige houses with neatly trimmed hedges, a world of artificial perfection standing in defiance of the raw beauty of my land. I step into the office, the artificial coolness of the AC hitting me like a slap. A young receptionist glances up, her polite smile faltering for just a second when she sees me. Mr. Carter, right? You can go in." She doesn't even check a schedule, like they were expecting me. Inside, Karen sits at the head of a long, glass table, flanked by two other board members, Douglas Harper, a balding man in his 60s with a permanent scowl, and Bethany Lane, a woman whose thin lips purse like she's sucking on something bitter. Karen smiles, but it's the same tight-lipped, I'm in control kind of smile from yesterday. "Mr. Carter, so glad you could make it." I pull out a chair and lean back, arms crossed. "Let's cut to it. What's this really about?" Karen's expression doesn't waver, but Douglas lets out a condescending chuckle. "We've reviewed some records, and it appears that your land falls under the HOA's jurisdiction." I blink. "What?" "That's impossible," I say evenly. "My family's owned that land for over 100 years. Long before this HOA existed." Bethany clears her throat and slides a file across the table. "According to county records, there was a reclassification 5 years ago. Your land is now part of the HOA, meaning you're subject to our rules and regulations." My pulse spikes. Reclassification? I flip through the documents, my stomach churning. This is a setup. Who authorized this? I demand. Karen shrugs, her tone syrupy sweet. It was a legal process, Mr. Carter. I'm sure it was all above board. I can see it now, the quiet, bureaucratic corruption, the paperwork filed without my knowledge, the signatures that probably aren't even real. This is theft, I say, my voice dangerously low. And you know it. Karen's smile doesn't budge. We're just ensuring everything is compliant. Now, about the overdue fees. I slam my hand on the table. Fees. Douglas leans forward, his smirk widening. Backdated HOA fees. Property assessments. Zoning violations. According to our calculations, you owe roughly $430,000. Silence. Cold. Suffocating. I meet Karen's eyes, and for the first time, she lets me see it. That gleam of power, of control. We'll be generous, she purrs. You can sign over the land and we'll waive the fees. I grip the arms of my chair. Now, I know exactly what this is. And they have no idea who they just tried to steal from. I stare at them, my blood humming with barely restrained fury. $430,000? They aren't just trying to steal my land. They're trying to bury me. I push the file back across the table, slow and deliberate. You expect me to believe my land was magically reclassified, and no one thought to tell me? Karen sighs like she's dealing with an unruly child. Mr. Carter, the legal process is complex. But the documents are binding. If you'd like to avoid legal action, signing over the deed is the best solution. Legal action? My hands tighten into fists under the table. They want me to fold, to panic, to let them bully me out of what's mine. I lean forward, my voice razor sharp. I'm not signing a damn thing. Douglas lets out a low chuckle. You don't have a choice. My jaw clenches. Oh, I always have a choice. Pushing back. I walk out of that office knowing one thing. This was planned. And if it was planned, there's evidence. That afternoon, I drive straight to the county records office. The clerk, a wiry man in his 40s, barely looks up when I ask for records on my property. But when he sees the address, his fingers hesitate on the keyboard. He swallows. That's restricted access. I narrow my eyes. Restricted? He fidgets. I can't release those files without authorization. That's when I know. They got to him. I lower my voice. Listen, man. This is my mother's land. Someone stole it on paper. I just need the truth. Something flickers in his expression. He exhales, glancing around. Then, quietly, he prints out a single page and slides it across the desk. I scan the document and my stomach drops. The reclassification was approved 5 years ago by Karen Whitmore. Her signature is on the paperwork. The HOA forced the county to rezone my land without notification. But that's not the worst part. The approval was pushed through by a judge, one with ties to Karen's husband. My grip tightens on the paper. It's corruption. It's fraud. And it's bigger than I thought. They push harder. The next morning, I wake up to the sound of heavy machinery. I sprint outside and my stomach twists in rage. Bulldozers. Surveyors. HOA inspectors. On my land. A group of men in neon vests walk the perimeter, hammering wooden stakes into the soil. Marking plots. What the hell do you think you're doing? I bark, storming toward them. A tall man in a suit, far too clean for farm work, steps forward. I'm with the HOA's development committee. We're assessing the land for future residential expansion. Future residential? My heart slams against my ribs. They aren't just stealing my land. They're planning to sell it. I grab my phone, dialing the sheriff. The moment the call connects, a smooth, familiar voice fills my ear.
Karen.
Mr. Carter, she says, almost amused. I heard you were causing a disturbance. I grit my teeth. You have no right to bring construction crews onto my property. Correction, she says, her tone light, mocking. It's HOA property now. I suck in a slow breath.
Stay calm.
Stay focused. You must be awfully confident, I say, voice low. breaking the law this blatantly. She chuckles. Oh, Mr. Carter. Who do you think enforces the law around here? The line clicks. My fingers tighten around the phone. She thinks she's won. She has no idea what's coming. The power shift begins. That night, I make my move. I drive to a small house just outside town, my Uncle Raymond's place. A retired electrical engineer, he spent his career designing the local power grid infrastructure. I knock once. The door swings open. Raymond frowns. You look like hell. They're trying to take the farm, I say. I need your help. He gestures me inside, his eyes sharp. Tell me everything. I lay out the whole situation. Karen's fraud, the judge's involvement, the HOA's illegal takeover. Raymond listens, nodding slowly. When I finish, he leans back, rubbing his chin. You know, he says, his voice measured. These HOA neighborhoods? They're completely dependent on the local power grid. I nod.
Yeah.
So? Raymond smirks. They don't know that I still have access to the emergency override system. I freeze. Slowly, a smile spreads across my face. They thought they had power, but I control the lights. The next morning, I walk into the HOA's emergency town hall meeting like I own the place. Because in a way, I do. The conference room is packed with board members, residents, and a few local officials, people Karen undoubtedly pulled in to legitimize her scam. The tension is thick, a quiet murmur rippling through the room as I stride forward. Karen sits at the head of the long table, smug as ever, flanked by Douglas and Bethany. Power-drunk parasites, every last one of them. She smiles, tilting her head. Mr. Carter, here to accept our generous offer. I slide my hands into my pockets, meeting her gaze with cold amusement. Not quite. Douglas scoffs. Still in denial, huh? We'll make this easy for you. He turns to the crowd, raising his voice. Due to Mr. Carter's unpaid fees, the HOA has officially foreclosed on his farmland. It will be repurposed for community expansion. A wave of murmurs spreads through the audience. Some people nod in agreement, but others shift uneasily. They know this isn't right. I hold up a single manila folder. See, that's interesting, I say, my voice calm measured. Because I did some digging. Karen's smile falters, but she quickly recovers. Mr. Carter, this meeting isn't for... I open the folder and pull out the documents. 5 years ago, this land was illegally reclassified by the HOA. Without my consent, I drop the county records on the table. Signed by you, Karen. The room goes still. Karen lets out a short laugh, but her fingers tighten around the armrest of her chair. That's a misunderstanding. I drop another paper in front of her. This is the judge who approved it. The same judge who just happens to be your husband's golf buddy. A few people in the crowd gasp. Karen's eyes narrow. That doesn't prove anything. Oh, but this does. I pull out the HOA's own financial records, the ones I obtained from a former board member who was sick of Karen's corruption. Looks like there was a $200,000 donation made to the judge's campaign fund right before my land was rezoned. I raise an eyebrow. And that money? It came from the HOA's discretionary fund. Dead silence. Then, someone in the audience mutters, Wait, is that our HOA money? I nod. Yup. You all paid for it. A ripple of outrage spreads through the room. They didn't just steal from me. They stole from everyone. Karen's face tightens. This is nonsense. She stands, mask cracking, voice rising. The land belongs to the HOA. You're just. And that's when I pull out my final card. I tap my phone screen. The lights flicker. Then, darkness. A collective gasp rises from the crowd. Phones flicker on. Confused whispers. Someone knocks over a chair. Then, as if on cue, the entire neighborhood outside goes dark. I step closer, lowering my voice, so only Karen can hear. Your little HOA empire runs on the grid my uncle designed. She freezes. I lean in, voice razor sharp. And right now, that grid is in my hands. Her breath stutters. I let that sink in. Then I press another button. The lights flicker back on. The room erupts. Residents are furious. Someone shouts, "You mean this man controls our entire infrastructure? And we tried to steal from him." Another yells, "What else has the HOA been hiding?" Karen looks around, realizing too late, she's lost control. I fold my arms.
Sell.
Wanna rethink that foreclosure? Karen's face is drained of color. She's losing control and she knows it. But like any cornered predator, she lashes out. She forces a smirk, straightening her blazer like she still holds all the power in the room. This is ridiculous. She turns to the audience, her voice adopting that familiar condescending tone, the one she's used to keep these people under her thumb for years. "Mr. Carter is obviously lying. Do you really think he—" I hold up my phone again.
Click.
The streetlights outside go dark. A wave of panic ripples through the room. "Wait, what's happening?" someone in the crowd asks. A woman gasps. "My phone just lost service." Karen's jaw tightens. Now she's afraid. I press another button. The lights flicker back on. The neighborhood's power restored. I take a slow step toward Karen, my voice calm, controlled. "You want to keep playing this game?" She glares at me, but I see it, the uncertainty, the fear. But Douglas, the old bulldog, isn't willing to go down without a fight. He slams his palm on the table. "This proves nothing. You're just a disgruntled property owner, trying to manipulate people." I smile. "You're right. This alone wouldn't be enough." I pull out another folder. The last nail in their coffin. "This," I say, sliding it across the table, "is a formal federal complaint filed this morning with the state attorney general's office." Karen snatches the document, her hands trembling as she reads it. Her eyes widen. Because this isn't just an HOA dispute anymore. This is a criminal investigation.
Fraud.
Bribery. Illegal rezoning. Felony-level corruption. Douglas swallows hard. Bethany's face is ashen. Karen, desperate, laughs, but it's shaky. This won't hold up in court. You have no proof of wrongdoing." I raise an eyebrow. "Don't I?" The final blow. I turn toward the audience. "Ladies and gentlemen, let's check the security footage." A murmur spreads through the crowd. Someone whispers, "Security footage?" That's when Sheriff Gaines steps forward. A heavy-set man in his late 50s, he's no fan of the HOA. But up until now, they hadn't given him enough cause to intervene. Until now. "Mr. Carter brought me some interesting evidence," he says, his voice carrying through the room, "including footage from the county archives. Turns out, there's a recording of Karen and her friends here discussing how to rezone his land." Gasps echo through the room. My smile doesn't falter. "Oh, and did I mention?" I turn to Karen. "Your phone calls? The ones you made to the county clerk, pressuring him to bury my records." I tap my phone. A distorted audio recording plays over the speakers. Karen's voice. "Make it disappear. I don't care how you do it, just make sure Carter never sees those records." The room explodes. "Are you kidding me?" someone shouts. "She's been robbing us blind," another yells. Karen panics. This is all fake." She whirls to Douglas. "Say something. Help me." But Douglas? He's already backing away. Bethany looks ready to bolt. I didn't know it was this serious." Karen slams her hands on the table. "We are the HOA. We make the rules. You think some farmer can take us down?" Sheriff Gaines steps forward, resting a heavy hand on her shoulder. "No, ma'am," he says. "The law does." Karen's breath stutters. That's when she realizes it's over. I lean in, voice low. "This could have gone differently, Karen." Her hands shake. "You." I just smile. "But you picked the wrong man to steal from." Karen's face is a mask of shock as Sheriff Gaines tightens the cuffs around her wrists. "You have the right to remain silent," he says. The room is dead silent, except for the soft clicks of smartphones recording every humiliating second. Wait. Karen thrashes, turning to the board members she once controlled. "Douglas. Bethany. Say something." But they're already retreating. Douglas is on his phone, probably calling a lawyer. Bethany is wiping at her face like she can erase the public disgrace. The homeowners, the same ones who used to bow to Karen's authority, now glare at her with open disgust. "This is the woman who called us lazy for questioning fees," someone mutters. "All that money we paid, she was lining her own pockets," another growls. The HOA members erupt into chaos. And just like that, Karen's kingdom crumbles. The fallout. The arrests don't stop at Karen. By the end of the week, the entire HOA board is dismantled. Turns out, my land wasn't the only thing they'd stolen.
Fraud.
Embezzlement. Even a fake charity fund that Karen set up to beautify the neighborhood. Money that, according to the bank records, paid for her vacation home. Local news runs the story nonstop. Former HOA members come forward, admitting they were bullied into silence. The community is livid. The same people who once turned a blind eye to Karen's blatant discrimination now see her for what she truly is. And me? I get my land back, reclaiming what's mine. A month later, I stand on my porch, watching the sun set over the land my mother fought to keep. No more threats. No more stolen notices. Just peace. The farmhouse door swings open, and my uncle steps out, hands in his pockets. "You did good, boy," he says, nodding toward the fields. "Your mama would be proud." I swallow hard. She would, wouldn't she? For years, people like Karen tried to tell us we didn't belong here, that we weren't worthy of this land. But we fought back. And we won. Final justice. As for Karen, she lost everything. Her assets were frozen. Her house, the one she bought with stolen money, was repossessed. And the worst part? She became a cautionary tale. Her name? Synonymous with greed and corruption. I heard she tried to flee the state, but you can't outrun consequences. Somewhere out there, she's probably still convincing herself she was the victim.
But me?
I don't have to convince myself of anything. I won. And that's justice.